What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of The Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, to have your own answers, and I believe in your ability to do so, as you've proven me by clicking on today's episode. So before I start, I want to apologize because yesterday, for some reason, the audio version of the podcast that I upload anywhere you can find audio podcasts, it didn't upload for some apparent reason. And then when I went back to go upload it today, it was like, oh, I don't know where that went. I don't know where that is. So I apologize for that. But it's still on YouTube. I only lost one of the episodes that I made. So technically, I still uploaded it. And with that being said, let's get back into the rhythm of this episode. So I have an audio version of this podcast anywhere you can find audio podcasts. I have a video version of this podcast on YouTube. They're both named The Spiritual Word. I'm your host, Jackie. I'm sorry if the audio is a little bit messy today. What else? If science, spirituality, psychology, self-help, and philosophy are things that you're interested in, then I recommend subbing or following. Those are my main 5 topics. And in today's episode, I want to go into detail on the fact that you create your reality, which I talk about a lot in most of my current episodes. And I want to go specifically based off of a channel who is, or how do I explain this? A channel that is Daryl Anka, or Daryl Anka. I don't know how to say his last name. Don't cover me. I apologize for that. But he channels a different being who identifies as Bashar. And he talks about this in really great analogies, really great metaphors, and he has ultimately helped me get to this place of how I understand this as well. And my cat's begging to get in, so give me a second. Anyways, so back to what we're talking about. Daryl channels a being who's actually a different incarnation of himself, and he has experienced UFOs in his time, and the UFOs were to prepare him to be this channel. And the reason that Daryl channels in the first place, or Bashar's reason for coming through in this channel and being connected to Daryl, is for the purpose of making first contact. That is Bashar's job on his planet. And in order to initiate first contact, we have to be ready spiritually, because they're at a frequency that if we meet them now, we lose our whole ability to be ourselves, or our self-identity, because their frequency is so high that it would interfere with our frequency. And it would basically be like having a trip. Like if you've ever done psychedelics, you would lose your sense of self. And so that's the whole purpose of why Bashar uses Daryl to channel. And in order for us to be at that level of consciousness, we have to actually go through the learnings that Bashar is giving us. And the reason that we have the capability of asking any and every question is so that we can get prepared for this meeting of, this different species. And another part is because Bashar also feels connected to us because he is a hybrid of humans, or his species is a hybrid of humans, and they're trying to kind of correct the path that we're on right now, because we're on a path that leads to a lot of chaos. And so basically, I'm just going to move on from why and who he is and move into the realm of what I've learned from Daryl and what I've learned from Bashar, and how you yourselves can actually create your reality. So this is going to be a lot of information condensed into this little simple, this is how it is, this is how I see it, and this is how simple it actually is. It's just that you want to overcomplicate it. So first and foremost, all of the things that I talk about, they seem to be very complicated, but they're really not. The only reason that they come off complicated is because of the belief systems and the thoughts that we currently have, and the thoughts that currently possess our mental space, and the thoughts that we repeat over and over and over. And when you believe something, your whole reality has to back up that belief. So if you believe on, some extreme deep level that you are weak and you are, let's just say physically you're just weak, and you have that belief that I'm never going to be strong, then those beliefs, the beliefs that you create or the thoughts that you create will back that up. Next time you go work out, you're going to get tired really fast. Why? Because you're not going to want to push yourself. And because that belief that tells you this is not going to go anywhere makes you believe that when you do it, it's not going to go anywhere. So when you gain results, they're probably very minimal. And so when I say whatever belief you have, there will be thoughts to back that up. And there will be beliefs to back that up. And you will have experiences that will prove that back to you. Because that's how this, world works. Although we don't identify that to be true, because our beliefs have to back it up, right? Humanity thinks that if you go out and you make money and you go out and you get a job, that's how you function in this society. If you don't have money, you don't have shit. Or if you don't have a degree, you'll never get that job. Or if you don't have experience, how could you be an expert, right? And the fact of the matter is that we are perfection. We are wholeness. We are whatever we perceive to be consciousness, whether you perceive consciousness to be God or whatever that is for you, that will be what you're actually made out of. But you don't believe that because of the beliefs that create your current situation. And in order to, this is the way that I'm going to go based off what Bashar says. Bashar says that if you follow your highest passion to the best of your ability, you will continue to create and live on this highest timeline. And the reason that is because your higher self is communicating to you through your feelings. Your higher self is saying, this thing makes you excited. Pay attention to this. I'm giving you crumbs in this maze so that you follow the crumbs. And then it leads you to the whole piece of pie that I was giving to you, that I was ready to give to you for the sake of you experiencing this, for the sake of completion. I don't want you to just experience this to just experience it, although I do love you. I'm going to do whatever you want to do. But this is what we both want to see. Because we are one. Your higher mind or God or consciousness is your higher mind. And you are the son or the player character, whatever you want to call it. You are the actor in your movie, but the director is also you. And so Bashar says, follow your passion to the highest extent that you can. And soon enough you will see through synchronicities that things just perfectly align for you. And he gives a lot of examples about how in Daryl's personal experience, like for example, he was working on a movie and he really, he goes to this restaurant frequently. And for some reason, that restaurant that he frequently goes to was closed. And so one of his coworkers says, hey, let's go to this one instead. And he's kind of going like, I don't really like that place, but if it's the next thing that was presented to me, and I know that I really want to go out to eat with you, and you were suggesting this, let's go, let's see. Because I might not really understand why we have to go there instead of the place that I go to, and why the place that I go to is closed today. And he goes to that restaurant and he runs into an actor that he wanted to hire, but he had no way of contacting. And then he runs into this actor and he's like, hey, I actually am working on a movie right now. Would you be interested in, screen testing? Would you be interested in this role? And the person goes, yeah, actually give me your number, give me your contact information, and I'll see what I can do. And so he uses that example in Daryl's personal experience that the synchronicities or the redirections of your higher self is actually always for your highest good. And that's how you're creating your experience. You're creating your experience through allowing and surrendering and being harmonious to the present. And that might be a very difficult thing for you to do because you have so many questions, because you have so much infliction as of being a human. You have so many inflictions being a human because of school, because of the way that you were brought up, maybe even because of your religious stance, or maybe because of society, or maybe because of social media, or maybe your own beliefs that you don't even realize are your own problems, the things that you've experienced as a kid that now are coming and bubbling to the surface through your everyday experiences. You don't recognize until you strip those away, and stripping those away is something that I teach on this on this podcast. And so if you want to learn how to get rid of the beliefs that are not for you, go back and watch some of these earlier episodes of how to get your dream life, how to get your dream career, and just watch all of the videos that I've posted on how to manifest, and all the videos about your thoughts create your reality, all the meditation videos of how to meditate, how to get rid of certain beliefs, certain ideas. And I'm going to give you like a really nutshell version of what I say in all of those, but it's basically through self-reflection you're able to identify the things that are not working for you, and you're able to strip those away, and you're able to see the truth of the matter. You're able to see truth and see clearly, because you are something that I've realized through all of these episodes is that people are given so much bullshit in this day-to-day experience. You're fed so much lies, you're fed so much hate, you're fed so much criticism, you're fed so much of your reality that's not even good for you. And a lot of people, they crave to know the truth. They crave the truth, and the real truth, the only truth, is that you are here to experience here and now. The only truth that is presented to you is the fact that you have your back, and that you love yourself, because the higher mind is you, and the higher mind will unconditionally support you, even if right now you feel like you hate yourself. That's your beliefs. Therefore, those are your feelings. Therefore, the higher mind will sit there and be like, you know what, I love you unconditionally, and if this is what you want to do, I support you. And the real truth is basically setting yourself free. Setting yourself free from limitations. And all the limitations that exist to you right now. Like the feelings of unworthiness, the feelings of lack, the feelings of not knowing. And let me tell you why these are false. They're false because you're worthy of experience. You're worthy of being human, because the higher mind wanted to pick you. And the reason that the higher mind wanted to pick you is not because of, any other reason than it wanted to be you. It wanted to experience life through you. And you might say, well, I've had a hard life, and I've had all these problems, and every time that I want to do something just doesn't, work. That's redirection. And the higher self is always giving, like, for example, when people talk about their childhood and their childhood trauma, the higher mind is always giving people free will points. Every single moment that you exist, you are choosing the reality that you exist in. And when you change your history, or when you change your present, your history changes. And the reason that it changes is because we live in a multiverse. So if you sit here and you're like, well, I've had a hard life, and then you sit there and you cry, you're living in that person's experience. But that person's experience is limited because it's still bound to the past and it's still bound to its future, when all possibilities are ever present right now. And when you follow your joys to the best of your ability, it's training you. It's like putting those training wheels on a bike for a little kid, so that as soon as they, they might say, well, I want to learn to ride a bike, they need the training wheels. And the training wheels to a person is to follow their bliss, follow their joy, follow their peace. And when you follow your peace, you follow your joy, you get rid of these illusions, you get rid of the lies. And it might take some time, because you will fight yourself on this. And most people fight themselves on this unless they already know the truth of the matter. And for example, if you're not exposed to something and this is your first time opening up your mind to this idea that Bashar, this extraterrestrial being, is giving us information through this person, and this is your first time hearing that, you'll probably be like, right. Because most people are not predisposed to ideas, especially because the internet has another layer to it. Or the internet adds another layer to, like, you could be BSing me and I wouldn't know. But that's really the truth for everything. You don't know when people are lying to you. But you can feel it. And your feelings will be based off of your ideas. And if you are somebody who's so used to doing the same things as everybody else, you're not going to be conditioned to actually want to listen to yourself and actually want to take charge. And so that's what I mean by people crave the truth. You will crave your truth. And so in a nutshell, to summarize the things that I've talked about that could help you is meditation. And things like replaying these videos. Replaying until it clicks for you. Replaying and replaying until it makes sense to you. Replaying his videos and Daryl's videos and Bashar's videos and Abraham Hicks' videos and Dolores Cannon's videos, or reading. I literally read The Science of the Mind, and it talks exactly about what Bashar channels or what Bashar teaches us. It teaches you how to use what you actually are. And what you actually are is spirit, or God, or consciousness, experiencing every single possibility at the same time. And it's just that you're tuned into this one. But you could be tuning into anyone that you choose, as long as you're able to maneuver the way that you can. And if you're able to maneuver through your feelings, through synchronicity, you will have that happen. And things will align for you, because you're allowing your body, your mind to not be hindered and to not be limited, and surrendering to the divine. And this is something that is very, very complex, especially in the ways that I can't linearly explain this. You have to wrap your mind around it, piece by piece, layer by layer. That's why I say you have to listen to these over and over in order to get what I'm even saying, because most of the time, even Bashar himself does not talk in a linear way. And when you ask him questions, or if you ask me questions, I can't answer them in a linear way, because my mind doesn't work like that anymore. And I could answer it in a linear way, but my linear way will not make sense to you. Like when people ask me, well, what do you see in your future? I can't directly answer that, because I know that I am changing as of now, and that your 20s is kind of like the early stages of being a child all over again. You're developing a sense of, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What do I want to see? And for those reasons, you're doing the exact same thing, no matter what age you're at. And that's why, for the sake of having this be clear and concise, I will do a second video. This will be part 1, and I will do a second video. I always say, well, I'll do another part, but it's only if you guys want me to do another part. This one, I feel like it really does need another part, because you have to understand how you're in control of this reality. And I think the videos that will help you the most, or the episodes that will help you the most, is the the episode that I call quotation marks the thing, or how the thing works, or talking about the thing, talking about reality, fundamental reality, because it'll get you to a place where you're like, oh, I get it, because this is how this works, and this is how this connects, and this is how, this person's thinking, and it makes it clear to you. It makes it clear and concise in like a little line for you, because sentences form in lines for the sake of simplicity. And just to wrap this up, basically, Bashar channels follow your passion to the highest ability, or to your highest extent, and surrender to the flow of the universe. And the universe will be like, oh, okay, you did this, now let me give you a new one. It's kind of like if a parent gave you a scavenger hunt, and you're like, I have free will, so I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do. And that's what most people do. Versus you saying, well, I do want to do this scavenger hunt, but where do I start? Where do I start? And this person gave you a hint as soon as, you decided this. And they say, well, this is what do you like to do the most? Go do that right now. And you're like, okay. And I'm going to go based off myself, but my favorite thing to do is sit and make these videos. And the next best thing that I like to do is to go play video games with my friends, because I really enjoy the mental kind of work that you have to put into a video game. And so, let's say that I'm following this scavenger hunt, and they say, okay, let's pretend the universe is my mom, and they say, okay, I made you a scavenger hunt. What do you like to do the most? Follow that, and that will lead you to your next clue. And then I say, okay. And I'm like, okay, let me think to myself. And sometimes I don't even know what I want to do, what's my favorite thing to do at that moment, because I've gotten so used to lying to myself. And I say, my favorite thing to do is probably go spend money. And then I go and spend money, and I'm like, I didn't get a clue. I didn't get anything from that. And then I'm like, what's my next favorite thing to do? And then I can sit there and be like, oh, I like to write. I like to draw. Let's draw. And then I do those things, and I'm like, it wasn't that. I didn't get any insight from that. And then I decide, okay, you know what? I'm just going to surrender and just make a video, because it'll come to me when it comes to me. And then it turns out that this is that thing. And then I go and I do this thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. There was a video on here that I didn't even take that my mom took. And it's talking about the next step. And getting me to that next step. That's what synchronicity will feel like. That's what it's, in a nutshell, it's kind of like. And once you follow your highest passion, you'll kind of have like this, oh, I know what I have to do next type of moment. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, now I know what to do. And then you'll have more of the moments where you're like, you have this experience where you're like, okay, I don't know if this is really working. And then you're like, okay, let me try to interact in a different way with these different things. And you might go out with your friends, or you might do whatever you enjoy doing. And then you have oh shoot, this is what I was, experiencing the opposite of. Like, for example, a lot of people who go up to Bashar and they ask them questions. They normally say, well, I need money to do those things. And he's like, you don't need money. You need a way to do that thing. Money could be a way to do that thing. And I'm not saying that it's not the best way to get there, but it's not the only way to get there. And so it's kind of like you need to have this creative expression to you in order to have that light bulb moment where you're like, I get it now. And so I recommend watching these over and over and over, and watching the episodes where I talk about the thing, quotation marks, the thing, or how the thing works, because that goes into depth on the Science of the Mind book that I read, that was published in like 1920 something. Or 1930 something like that. And the way that Bashar channels, because they say the exact same thing, although it's in a different era. And I find that to be very fascinating and very intriguing. So, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I hope that this was helpful in any way, shape, and form. And I will do a part 2. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. This has been The Spiritual Word. I'm your host, Jackie, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.